There is a moment every trader fears, a moment so quiet you almost don't notice it. It doesn't shout, it whispers, "Fuck it, just go." And in that split second, logic dies. The plan you spent weeks perfecting, gone. You're no longer a trader. You're a gambler with a keyboard, a soldier without a mission. This isn't just a story about losing money. It's about losing yourself to ego, fear, and impulse. But what if you could see that moment coming? What if you could stop it before it takes over? This video will show you how. Because once you master the moment, you don't just survive the market, you command it. Robert was not your average man. He didn't stumble into trading. He didn't follow hype or chase headlines. Robert was a real-world genius, a senior manager at a top consulting firm, someone who understood the architecture of trading platforms better than some of the engineers who built them. He had a mind for systems, for logic, for process. He didn't trade because it was exciting. He traded because he believed in precision, in data, in edges that could be measured and exploited. And for 4 straight days, Robert was unstoppable. 12 trades, 10 winners, each one executed with surgical control. His chart setups were clean, his risk management flawless, and with every tick in the right direction, he felt it. That rush, that intoxicating blend of control and confidence. Not the kind of overconfidence that blinds you, but the kind that whispers, "You've cracked the code. You belong here." His hands were steady, his breathing calm. He wasn't just winning, he was performing, like an elite athlete, like a concert pianist in perfect flow. And then came Friday. It didn't begin with a crash, no panic, no chaos, just a whisper, a simple accidental press of a hotkey, a misclick, a slip. It placed him into a position he never meant to enter, small, harmless, a minor paper cut, one click to fix it. But the market moved, just a little at first, then more, red, a little brighter, a little louder. The calm started to fade. The rational mind, the one that had guided him to this point, began to retreat, replaced by something else, something ancient. A tightness in the chest, a flash of heat behind the eyes, panic. And then it spoke, that voice, quiet, seductive, destructive. "Feck it, let's go." In that moment, Robert, the calm strategist, the meticulous planner, ceased to exist. Something else took over, a version of him built entirely from emotion, rage, frustration, revenge. He started clicking, fast, wild, irrational. He wasn't analyzing setups. He wasn't managing risk. He was swinging at the market as if it had personally insulted him. Stocks that weren't even on his watch list filled his screen. His rules, written so carefully, were shredded like paper in a storm. He doubled down on losers. He ignored stop losses. He watched green candles like lifeboats and chased them into the abyss. He was no longer trading. He was reacting. He was at war. And within 30 minutes, everything he'd built, 4 days of disciplined profit, flawless execution, was gone, burned, erased in a blaze of panic-fueled destruction. He sat back, dazed. The screen still glowed red, his P&L now a graveyard. And for the first time, wasn't angry at the market. He was ashamed, because deep down, he knew. The market didn't beat him. He beat himself. He had no one else to blame. Not the chart, not the news, not the volume. Just that one moment. That single emotional fracture when everything inside him screamed, "Let it burn." And it did. See, Robert's story isn't rare. It's not even unusual. In fact, it might be the most common story in all of trading. Because this game, this beautiful, brutal game, is not about who's the smartest, it's about who's in control. And that control, it doesn't come from strategy. It comes from psychology, from the ability to master yourself in the face of uncertainty, pain, and temptation. The truth is, most traders don't blow up because of a bad system. They blow up because of that moment, that split second when emotion takes the wheel, when fear or ego or desperation overpowers reason, when the pilot inside them ejects and a passenger takes over. And unless you learn how to recognize that moment, to anticipate it, to guard against it, you will relive Robert's fall again and again. Maybe it won't be today, maybe not this week, but eventually the market will whisper. And when it does, you'll either listen or rise above it. Because the difference between professional and amateur isn't a better strategy, it's a better reaction. And it starts here with Robert's fall, because if you understand why he broke, then you can begin to understand how not to. It begins so quietly, a small dip, a red candle, nothing serious. You're in a trade, maybe a little early, but you've seen this chart 100 times. It's just pulling back. You remind yourself, stick to the plan, but then it keeps dropping. a little more, a little faster. Now your entry's underwater, your stop loss is near, but instead of exiting, something else whispers, a seductive little thought. It's not a loss, it's a discount. You've heard this voice before, and it makes so much sense in the moment. If I just add more here, my average price improves. I can still make this work. You hit the button, double down, the position grows, the risk multiplies, but you feel smarter, like you're outwitting the market. This isn't gambling, this is logic. At least that's what you tell yourself. And that is the lie. The most dangerous lie in trading, because averaging down on a losing position doesn't feel like a mistake, it feels like a solution. But in reality, it's the emotional reflex of a trader who can't let go. A trader who's more focused on being right than doing right. A trader who's been seduced by the illusion of control. You see, this demon doesn't wear a mask of greed or fear. It wears the mask of intelligence. It disguises itself as smart capital management. But make no mistake, this is not a strategy. It's a gamble dressed in a lab coat, and it is responsible for more account blowups than any technical indicator ever created. Let me tell you a story. Matt was a brilliant trader, early 2000s, dot-com bubble. He had experience, he had conviction, and he spotted something he believed was pure gold, a tech stock trading at levels that defied reality. He shorted it. The price spiked. He doubled down. It spiked again. He tripled down. His analysis hadn't changed, but neither had the market's direction. It just kept climbing, faster, stronger, more irrational. By the time Matt tapped out, he'd lost 25% of his account on one trade, one decision, one refusal to accept that he was wrong. Now, here's the part that stings. Matt didn't lose because of bad research. He didn't lose because he was stupid. He lost because he refused to surrender his ego. He couldn't admit defeat. So instead of taking a paper cut, he bled out. Still think it's just a retail trader problem? Let's talk about Amaranth Advisors, one of the largest hedge fund collapses in history, over $9 billion under management, a team of Ivy League analysts, and yet they died the same death. One of their star traders made a massive bet on natural gas. The trade turned against him. So what did he do? He averaged down, then he did it again. He kept adding until the loss was no longer manageable, until it became catastrophic. The final damage? $6.6 billion gone in a matter of days. Averaging down took out a billion-dollar fund, just like it takes out everyday traders every week. Because no amount of intelligence can save you from a decision rooted in denial. Let's be crystal clear. Strategically adding to a winning position with clear rules, structure, and stops, that's a professional move. But adding to a losing trade because it should come back, that's hope. And hope is not a strategy. Hope is a drug, a dopamine hit that says, you can still win this, even when the odds are crumbling beneath your feet. So why do we do it? Because we are hardwired to avoid loss. Not just financially, but psychologically. The pain of closing a red trade feels like admitting we were wrong. It feels like failure, shame, ego death. So we avoid that pain by pretending it's not real. We buy more. We improve our average. We turn a $100 loss into $500, then into $1,000, until the loss becomes so big we have no choice but to face it. And by then, it's no longer about money, it's about survival. Here's the truth that separates professionals from gamblers. Professionals know that a small loss is part of the business. They take it, learn from it, move on. Gamblers, they average down because they can't stomach being wrong. They would rather risk destruction than admit defeat. But in trading, the cost of denial is compounding. It doesn't just take your capital, it takes your clarity, your discipline, your confidence. And once those are gone, you're not a trader anymore. You're just a person with a mouse praying. So if you find yourself tempted, if you hear that voice whispering, just one more entry and you'll be okay, stop, breathe, ask yourself, am I trading a plan or am I trying to fix a mistake? Is this a strategy or a reaction? And most importantly, if this trade goes to zero, am I still okay? Because if the answer is no, you shouldn't be in the trade at all. Averaging down is not about intelligence, it's about identity. It's about whether you define success by the outcome or by your ability to follow your rules. Let the loss be a lesson, not a legacy. And remember, the smartest thing you can do as a trader is to know when to stop. It starts as a whisper. A chart spikes, a stock explodes, your phone buzzes, plus 350% in 2 hours. You see rocket emojis flooding your feed, screenshots of unreal gains. People you've never heard of just turned $1,000 into 10,000. And you're still on the sidelines, watching, waiting, hesitating. That whisper grows louder. You're missing it. They're getting rich. What are you doing? Your pulse quickens. Your eyes dart from candle to candle. And after you start typing maybe just a small position, and before you realize it, you've clicked buy. Not because it was in your plan, not because the setup was clear, but because you couldn't stand being left behind. That's FOMO, fear of missing out. It doesn't feel like fear, though. It feels like urgency, like you're on the edge of something massive. And if you don't act now, you'll regret it forever. But here's the truth. FOMO is not opportunity. It's emotional hijacking. And if you don't learn to see it for what it is, it will rip your account apart, one impulsive trade at a time. Let me tell you about Peter. Peter was a disciplined trader. Careful, patient, structured, until 2017. Crypto was going wild, Bitcoin breaking records, altcoins launching into the stratosphere. Everyone was making money, fast. Peter couldn't resist. He jumped in. At first, it worked. He caught a few breakouts, made $70,000 in profits in just weeks. He felt untouchable. But that feeling, that invincibility, that was the first crack. He stopped following his rules. His risk management became an afterthought. His strategy, forgotten. He was no longer executing a system. He was chasing stories, every rumor, every pump, every pop. And then the market turned, as it always does. Within 48 hours, he lost over $50,000. Not because he didn't know how to trade, but because he let FOMO trade for him. FOMO doesn't ask you to think. It demands you react. It tells you this is your one shot, that this is the moment you've been waiting for, that if you don't act now, you'll miss the boat forever. But here's what it doesn't tell you, that every once-in-a-lifetime move will come again and again, that buying late into hype is the same as handing your money to someone who bought early, that the trade you're chasing probably already made its move, and now it's looking for someone to dump on. And if you're entering without a plan, that someone is you. So how do you kill FOMO? You don't fight it with willpower. You outsmart it with a simple 3-part checklist. Do I have a precise entry point based on my system? Do I have a clear, realistic profit target? Do I have a non-negotiable stop loss in place? If you can't answer all 3 immediately and with confidence, you have no business placing that trade, because an opportunity without structure isn't an opportunity, it's a liability. See, FOMO doesn't live in the market, it lives in you, in that voice that says, I don't want to be left behind. In that story you tell yourself, if I miss this one, I'll never make it. But let's break that down. How many trades have you chased only to see them crash minutes after you entered? How many wins have you missed because you were stuck in a position you never should have taken? And how much emotional capital have you burned just trying to keep up with strangers on the internet? Here's a truth few will tell you. Missing a trade is not a loss. Chasing one that isn't in your plan, that's the real loss. Professional traders miss good trades all the time. They don't care because they know another trade will come. But if you destroy your discipline chasing noise, your edge will never come back. FOMO isn't just about entries. It infects your exits too. You'll take profits too early because this might be the top, or you'll hold too long because what if it keeps going? In both cases, you're not trading the chart. You're trading your emotions. So what's the cure? Routine, preparation, clarity. Before every session, you decide what stocks are in play, what setups you're watching, what your rules are, what your mission is. Because when you have a plan, you don't chase, you wait, you stalk. You strike only when the market gives you exactly what you're looking for. No rush, no panic, no noise, just precision. The market rewards the patient, not the desperate. The disciplined, not the impulsive. The pilot, not the passenger. And the irony? The more you chase, the more you lose. The more you wait, the more the market comes to you. So the next time you feel it, that itch in your fingers, that voice saying, everyone else is getting rich, pause, breathe. Remember, the goal is not to catch every move. The goal is to catch the right ones. And sometimes the most profitable trade you can make is no trade at all. You take a loss, small, manageable. You knew it could happen, you planned for it, but something about this one feels different. It wasn't just money you lost, it was pride. You stare at the red numbers on your screen, not as a data point, but as an insult. It's not just a loss, it's an attack. And slowly, quietly, something inside you changes. You lean forward, eyes narrow, your breathing shifts, your mind isn't thinking about probabilities anymore. You're not calculating, you're not even trading, you're hunting. That right there is the moment when the third demon appears, the most dangerous of them all. Revenge trading. It doesn't always announce itself with rage. Sometimes it comes dressed as determination. You tell yourself you're going to get back on track. You call it recovering your losses. But that's not the truth. Not really. What you're actually doing is trying to erase the pain. You're trying to reclaim the identity of a winner, not for the market, for yourself. And that's the trap. Because the moment you start trading your emotions instead of your edge, you're already lost. Let me take you back to Robert. Remember him? 4 days of disciplined success. Then one small mistake triggered a loss, a misclick, a misfire, something totally manageable. But he didn't take the stop. He didn't breathe. He didn't reset. He got angry. And when that rage took the wheel, logic was locked in the trunk. He started placing wild trades, no strategy, no rules, no reason. He was no longer trading setups, he was swinging at shadows. He smashed his keyboard. He yelled at his screen. He chased stocks he hadn't even researched. He wasn't trying to be right anymore. He was trying to win the argument with the market. And here's the thing, the market doesn't argue, it doesn't apologize, it doesn't fight back. It just watches as you destroy yourself. Revenge trading is when ego hijacks execution, when pain replaces planning, when every click of the mouse feels like a punch thrown in a street fight. But this fight is rigged because the opponent you think you're battling isn't the market, it's you. Here's how it happens. You take a hit, you feel the sting, and instead of stepping back and recalibrating, you lash out. Your focus narrows, your vision blurs, your only thought becomes, I have to make this money back, now. This is what poker players call being on tilt, a state of emotional chaos. You start playing hands you know you shouldn't, taking trades you'd never touch if you were calm, risking more, thinking less, because it's not about good decisions anymore. It's about relief. You're not seeking profit, you're chasing redemption. But here's the cruel twist. Every revenge trade you take digs the hole deeper, and before you know it, you're no longer trying to win. You're trying to stop bleeding. Why does this happen? Because as traders, we tie our self-worth to our performance. When our P&L is green, we feel validated. When it's red, we feel attacked. And that's the root of the problem. We treat losses like personal failures, not probabilities, not process, but identity. So when the market hands us pain, we don't process it. We retaliate. But revenge trading is like trying to put out a fire by throwing gasoline. It never ends well. Let me share something powerful with you. In Andrew Aziz's book, Mastering Trading Psychology, there's a simple truth. The most toxic number on your screen is your real-time P&L. Why? Because it becomes a scoreboard for your ego. Every tick down feels like a jab to the gut. Every green number feels like a high five from the universe. And so you start reacting to that number, not the chart, not the strategy, not the plan. You get emotionally attached to being right instead of doing what's right. The professionals, they don't trade to get even. They trade to execute. Their mission is not to win back losses. Their mission is to follow the plan with precision. They understand this golden rule. A losing trade executed properly is still a success. A revenge trade, even if it wins, is a failure because it breaks the process. It builds bad habits. It tells your brain emotional decisions can work. And once you start rewarding chaos, discipline dies. So how do you fight this demon? Start by redefining success, not as profit, not as green days, but as perfect execution. If you followed your system, sized your risk correctly, and exited where you were supposed to, then you won, even if the trade lost money. And if you broke your rules, chased, forced, over-leveraged, then you lost, even if it made you a quick buck. This shift is everything, because when you stop tying your identity to outcomes, you free yourself from the grip of revenge. You are not your last trade. You are not your P&L. You are the pilot. Your job is to fly the mission with discipline, with focus, with clarity. And if you get hit, you don't counterpunch blindly. You step back, you assess the damage, you rebuild the process. Because in this game, survival isn't just about how high you fly. It's about how well you recover when you fall. Revenge trading is the scream of an untrained mind, but you don't have to live there. You can be the calm in the storm, the sniper, not the soldier, the pilot, not the passenger. The market doesn't care if you lose control, but your account does. So next time you feel that fire rising, that urge to get it all back in one trade, don't. Just breathe. And remember, you don't need revenge. You need mastery. Picture this. You're boarding a plane. The captain walks past you, yawning. He rubs his eyes, stretches, and says, "Didn't really sleep last night. Let's see what happens today." Would you still sit in that seat? Would you trust him with your life at 30,000 feet in the air? Of course not, because flying an aircraft isn't about guessing. It's about precision, discipline, preparation. So let me ask you this. Why do so many traders walk into the market like that sleepy pilot? Why do they wake up late, scroll through Twitter, open their broker, and jump into live trades without any structure, any mindset, any mission? They're not flying the plane. They're riding the turbulence. And they wonder why they crash. Here's the truth few will admit. Trading isn't just about what you do during the session. It's about how you program your mind before it ever begins. And that programming, that internal flight checklist, can be the difference between a calm, calculated day and a catastrophic spiral. Let me tell you about Michael, a firefighter. For 20 years, he ran into burning buildings. He knew chaos. He understood pressure. He trained for it. But when he transitioned into trading, something strange happened. He realized that clicking the buy button gave him more adrenaline than running into a fire. How was that possible? Because in the fire, he had a plan, a protocol, a team. But in the market, he was alone. No helmet, no oxygen tank, no training, just him, the screen, and his emotions. And the results were exactly what you'd expect, until he made one change. He brought his firefighting mindset into the market. He started every trading day the same way he started a fire response, with discipline, with ritual, with a checklist. He woke up at 4:30 a.m., ran, meditated, reviewed his rules, built his plan, tested his gear, not because he felt like it, but because it trained his mind to say, we're not playing games today. He wasn't gambling anymore. He was flying the plane. And that's exactly how you need to think. As a trader, you are the pilot of a high-performance aircraft, your mind. Your cockpit includes your platform, your chart setups, your scanner, your trade book, your risk parameters, and most importantly, your psychological readiness. If any of these systems are offline, you're flying blind. And the market, it doesn't care. So how do you program your mind like a pilot? You build a pre-market routine that primes you for battle, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, even spiritually. Because trading is not just about intellect, it's about state. Your routine becomes the bridge between chaos and clarity. It tells your brain, this is the mission, this is the plan, these are the rules. And the moment the opening bell rings, you're not reacting, you're executing. For some, that routine starts with movement, a run, push-ups, breath work, something to wake the body and signal discipline. For others, it's mindfulness, a few minutes of silence, journaling intentions, visualizing perfect execution. For all professionals, it includes reviewing stocks in play, identifying key levels, mapping out entry, exit, and risk, writing down non-negotiables, because you don't build the plan when bullets are flying. You build it in the calm before the storm. You see, most amateur traders show up hoping the market will give them something. But professionals, they show up with a blueprint. They're not searching for setups, they're waiting for them. They don't chase the market, they let it come to them. Because when you've done the work ahead of time, you already know what you're looking for. You've already defined what qualifies as a valid trade, and you've already committed to following that process no matter how you feel in the moment. This is the core of mental programming. You are not making decisions based on emotion. You're following a system you built when you were calm and focused. You're replacing hope with protocol. You're replacing reaction with ritual. That's what being a pilot means. You don't fly the plane based on how you feel. You fly it based on instruments, your charts, your volume indicators, your trade book setups, not your P&L, not your gut, not Twitter. Because trading without preparation is not bold, it's reckless. It's stepping into a cockpit midair with no training and hoping for the best. And the cost? It's not just monetary, it's psychological. Every impulsive session, every revenge trade, every FOMO moment, erodes your trust in yourself. But every disciplined morning, every structured plan, every intentional breath rebuilds it. So ask yourself, what are you doing before the market opens? Are you flying the plane or are you just along for the ride? Are you the professional who built the mission the night before or the gambler looking for a miracle? Because in this game, the win doesn't start at 9:30 a.m. It starts the night before. It starts at 5 a.m. in the silence, in the stillness, in the habits no one sees. That's where pilots are made. So start tomorrow like a professional. Build your checklist. Commit to your process. Honor your ritual. Because when the bell rings, you're not just another trader. You're the one in the cockpit. Calm, ready, clear, and above all else, in control. If you've made it this far, then you already know trading isn't a game of charts. It's a game of mind control, not the market's mind, yours. Most traders crash long before they lose their money. They lose their mind first. They freeze, they tilt, they panic, and they make decisions they swore they never would. Why? Because they're flying without a manual. No checklist, no structure, no system for staying sane when pressure hits. You wouldn't fly a fighter jet into combat with nothing but your gut feeling. You'd get shot out of the sky in seconds. Yet, most traders do that every day. That's why this part is different. This isn't theory. This isn't motivation. This is your manual, the 15 theological safeguards used by elite traders, built not in classrooms, but in the chaos, battle-tested, hard-earned, and absolutely essential. So listen close, because this is the moment you stop gambling and start commanding. Rule 1, understand it's all probability. You're not a fortune teller, you're a probability manager. You won't win every trade. You're not supposed to. Stop chasing certainty, start managing risk. Rule 2, build resilience like a muscle. You will lose, you will get hit. The only question is, do you get back up smarter or do you stay down bitter? Rule 3, never average down. Hope is not a hedge. Doubling down on a loser doesn't make you smart, it makes you stubborn. Cut the loss, move on, live to fight another day. Rule 4, kill FOMO with the 3-question checklist. Before any trade, do I have a precise entry, a clear profit target, a non-negotiable stop? If you hesitate on any of these, you're not trading, you're reacting. Rule 5, starve the revenge trader, ignore your P&L. Your P&L is not your identity. It's not your scoreboard, it's noise. Hide it. Trade the chart, not your emotions. Rule 6, use a daily profit target as a psychological safeguard. This isn't about limiting upside, it's about preserving clarity. You don't leave a winning battle to chase chaos. Walk away strong. Protect your mental capital. Rule 7, master your morning pre-flight checklist. You don't start trading when the bell rings. You start the moment you wake up. Discipline isn't something you switch on. It's something you build before the mission begins. Rule 8, forge your trade book. A real strategy lives on paper. It's structured, tested, unbreakable. Your trade book is your aircraft manual. When emotions rise, you don't think, you follow protocol. Rule 9, trade only stocks in play. If it doesn't have news, volume, and movement, you don't trade it. You're not here to trade everything. You're here to trade precision. Rule 10, hide your P&L if you have to. Seriously, remove it from your screen, because as long as that number flashes in your peripheral vision, you're flying with emotional turbulence. Rule 11, know your trading style. Scalper, swinger, momentum sniper, you must fly the plane that matches your instincts. If you're wired for patience, don't chase noise. If you crave action, don't try to be a monk. Alignment is everything. Rule 12, debrief every day. 15 minutes, end of session. Ask, what emotion drove me today? What mistake repeated? What rule did I honor? Reflect, refine, reload. Rule 13, chase process, not outcomes. If your goal is to make $500 today, you've already lost because you can't control outcomes, but you can control execution. Focus there, and the results will follow. Rule 14, live like an athlete. You don't become disciplined at the desk if you're chaotic the other 22 hours of the day. Sleep, eat clean, move. Your trades are only as sharp as your body and mind. Rule 15, find your wingman. You can't fight this war alone. Find a trading community that keeps you grounded, not one that hypes you up, but one that holds you accountable. 15 rules, 15 lines of defense, 15 reasons why elite traders stay in the game. while everyone else burns out in a blaze of panic and overconfidence. This isn't about becoming perfect, it's about becoming prepared. Because the market isn't fair. It doesn't care how smart you are, how passionate you are, how badly you want it. It only rewards one thing: discipline. And discipline is not something you feel, it's something you follow. You don't need more indicators, you don't need another course, you need a manual. And now you have it. So before the next trading day begins, ask yourself, which rule am I breaking? Which safeguard am I ignoring? Which demon am I still feeding? Because at the end of the day, the difference between a trader who survives and a trader who thrives is this: one flies by emotion, the other flies by checklist. You're not here to get lucky. You're not here to chase hype. You're not here to react. You are here to execute. You are the pilot, and this is your flight manual. Knowledge is nothing without action. You've just been handed the flight manual. You've seen what happens when a mind flies without it, when emotion hijacks discipline, when chaos replaces clarity. But none of it matters if you don't step into the cockpit yourself. This next part, it's not a story. It's not a warning. It's a challenge. 3 days. That's all it takes to start rewiring the way you trade, to go from drifting to deciding, from hoping to executing, from reacting to commanding. No more passive learning, no more YouTube binges, no more waiting for the perfect setup in your life. Your training begins now. Day 1, choose your weapon. Start simple. Pick one psychological safeguard from the 15-point checklist. Just one. Maybe it's hiding your P&L, setting a daily profit target, writing your first trade book, doing a real morning routine for the first time ever. Whatever it is, pick it, write it down, commit to it, and tomorrow, you execute it. No debate, no but what if. You treat it like law, because in battle, hesitation gets you killed. This is your first rep, your first muscle memory of discipline. And after day 1, something shifts. You're no longer just watching other traders succeed. You're becoming one of them. Day 2, debrief like a fighter pilot. This is where transformation begins. At the end of the day, you sit down with yourself. No distractions, no excuses, just you and the mission log. Take out a blank page, set a timer, 15 minutes, and write. Answer 3 questions, brutally honest. 1, what emotions drove my trading today? Fear, greed, hesitation, confidence? 2, what did I do well, even if I lost money? Did I respect my stop? Stick to my rules? 3, what is the one thing I will improve tomorrow? Not 10. 1. This isn't journaling for journaling's sake. This is your black box, your flight data, your access to clarity buried in chaos. By day 2, you'll feel it. Calm, precision, command. Not because the market was kind, but because you showed up like a professional. Day 3, find a wingman. Now comes the part most traders avoid: community. You weren't meant to do this alone. The pressure, the volatility, the self-doubt, it will eat you alive in isolation. So today, you share. Find one person, just one. A fellow trader, a mentor, a friend who gets it. Tell them what safeguard you picked, what you wrote in your debrief, what's shifted for you, not for validation, but for accountability. Because when you teach what you've learned, you own it. You're not just a student anymore. You're an operator. This is the 3-day challenge, simple but powerful. And here's the truth. You don't need to change everything at once. You just need to change your trajectory. 3 days of discipline, 3 days of small, consistent execution can set you on a path most traders never touch. Because the traders who make it, who build real wealth, real peace, aren't chasing every breakout. They've built a mind that can withstand the storm. They have safeguards, systems, self-awareness, standards. And that's what you're building now. Not just a routine, a mindset, a command system, a cockpit where you are the pilot. Mission briefing recap. Day 1, pick one psychological safeguard and implement it. Day 2, debrief, emotions, wins, adjustments. Day 3, share it. Anchor your growth in reality. That's it. That's how it starts. So if you're ready, truly ready, don't just watch this. Act. Write it down. Block time, shut off noise, and most importantly, drop a comment below. Pilot mode on. Let the world know you're not flying blind anymore, because this isn't just about trading. It's about who you are when pressure hits, when red fills the screen, when that voice whispers, just chase, just click, just get it back. That's when you follow the manual. That's when you breathe, focus, execute like a pilot. Because in the cockpit of trading, there are only two seats: pilot or passenger. The market is always flying. The only question is, are you in control? Somewhere out there, someone is blowing up their account right now. They're clicking in panic. They're chasing red candles. They're yelling at the screen, punching their desk, refreshing their P&L like it's a life monitor. And they don't even know what's happening. They think it's the market. But the truth is, it's them, their untrained mind, their broken process, their emotional autopilot flying straight into a storm. Now think about you. You didn't just watch this video, you studied it. You faced the demons, averaging down, FOMO, revenge trading. You named them, you understood them. You saw them for what they are, internal enemies disguised as instincts. And you didn't stop there. You learned the 15 rules. You took the challenge. You committed to rewiring the way you think, the way you act, the way you trade. And that alone puts you ahead of 90% of the field. Not because you're smarter, not because you have a better strategy, but because you're no longer a passenger. You're in the seat. You are the pilot now. And that changes everything. Because trading isn't about always being right. It's about always being ready. It's not about chasing every opportunity. It's about having the discipline to say no and the clarity to wait for the one that matters. It's not about how much you make today. It's about whether you showed up like a professional or just another amateur hoping to get lucky. From now on, everything changes. You wake up like a soldier, you prepare like a pilot, you execute like a surgeon, and you reflect like a leader. Because this is no longer about charts, it's about command. And the person you are becoming is no longer ruled by fear, ego, or emotion. He is calm, he is clear, he is dangerous because he is disciplined. And if that voice inside your head ever returns, you know the one. The whisper that says, just go for it. Fix it with one trade. Don't miss this one. Then you smile because you know that voice and you've already defeated it. You've trained for this moment. You know the checklist. You know your setup. You know your limits. You're not here to fight the market. You're here to fly above it. So this is your final command. Stay sharp. Keep the journal. Respect your edge. Protect your capital like it's your oxygen. And above all else, execute the plan. Because no matter how chaotic the market becomes, you are no longer flying blind. You have the manual, you have the mindset, you have the mission, and you are in the cockpit. If this video hit you, share it with one trader, just one, the one who's struggling, the one who's emotional, the one who's about to quit. Send them this message. Before you give up, watch this, because this journey isn't meant to be walked alone. You need a wingman, and so do they. Drop a comment below. Pilot mode, locked in. Let's see how many real pilots are out there. How many are done letting emotion fly the plane? How many are ready to turn trading into mastery? And if this content spoke to your core, if it reminded you who you're trying to become, then subscribe, because we're just getting started. This isn't just a channel, this is your training ground. And the mission? Build traders who don't just survive the market, but command it. So from now on, no more guessing, no more gambling, no more flying by feel, because from the moment forward, the checklist is in place, the cockpit is yours, and the only thing left to do is take off. You are the pilot. Now fly like one,